There's a very specific kind of person everyone hates. The type who believes rules exist for everyone except them. The type who cuts in front of a line full of tired commuters and somehow still thinks they're the victim. Yesterday, on a packed subway station in central London, I ran into exactly that kind of person. At first I thought nothing of it, but a few minutes later I realized something. She was planning to cheat the system again. And in that moment, I had the perfect opportunity to make sure karma arrived early. Let's just say the subway gate did the rest. Before we dive into the story, make sure to like the video and subscribe if you enjoy satisfying revenge stories where karma works faster than customer service. Trust me, this might be the most polite British revenge you'll ever hear. Yesterday started like any other work trip. My name is Daniel, I'm 32, and I work as a consultant. That means a lot of travel, early mornings, and dragging luggage through crowded train stations while pretending I'm not already exhausted. This trip had me heading through Baker Street Station, one of the busiest stops on the London Underground. If you've ever been there during the morning rush, you know exactly what I mean. The station feels less like transportation and more like controlled chaos. Announcements echo across tile walls. Train brakes screech against metal rails. Hundreds of commuters move like a river of suits, backpacks, coffee cups, and tired faces. Everyone has somewhere to be, and everyone is in a hurry. Yet somehow there are always those people, the line cutters. I was approaching the wide barrier gate meant for travelers with luggage. In front of me were two other commuters, both dragging suitcases just like me. We were all patiently waiting. Then suddenly someone stepped right in front of me. No apology. No hesitation. Just a quick move forward like she owned the place. She looked to be in her mid-20s, wearing a brown coat and large headphones. Behind her rolled a very distinctive turquoise suitcase. Now, to be fair, cutting in line in London isn't unheard of. Most people simply sigh and move on. But what happened next made it worse. Instead of tapping her travel card, she tailgated the person in front of her. For anyone unfamiliar with the system, that means waiting until someone taps their card and slipping to the gate right behind them without paying. Basically, she dodged a fare. The gate barely had time to close before she slipped through. Within seconds, she disappeared into the crowd. I could have confronted her, but if you know British culture, you know we rarely do that. Instead, I muttered under my breath about how wonderful it must be to travel for free while everyone else pays their share. Then I tapped my card and continued toward the platform. I assumed that was the end of it. About 15 minutes later, I reached my destination. I had a Eurostar connection to catch, so I grabbed my suitcase and walked toward the exit gates. That's when I noticed something. Just ahead of me was that same turquoise suitcase. The same girl stood near the exit barrier. She glanced back and our eyes met briefly. Then she casually positioned herself slightly behind me. That's when the realization hit. She was going to do it again. She wasn't planning to tap out. She was planning to tailgate me through the exit gate. Suddenly, everything made sense. She had done this before, probably dozens of times, saving money while everyone else followed the rules. Normally, I might have just let it happen. But something about the smug confidence in her body language made me reconsider. She stepped closer behind me, waiting for the gate to open. That's when a small, petty idea formed in my head. I approached the wide exit barrier and pulled out my travel card. The gate opened smoothly, and I rolled my suitcase forward. Then I stopped, completely, right in the middle of the gate. I started patting my pockets slowly as if checking for important items. Wallet in the left pocket, phone in the right pocket, passport in the inner jacket pocket, ticket for my train in the back pocket. Behind me, I heard a sudden metallic slam. The gate closed. The timing could not have been better. She had already stepped forward trying to slip through behind me. Her suitcase made it through the gate, but she didn't. She was stuck awkwardly between the closing barriers, unable to move forward and unable to step back. Because she never tapped her card, the gate refused to reopen. For a brief moment, there was complete silence. Then she whispered in frustration, "You've got to be kidding me." I glanced slightly over my shoulder while still pretending to search my pockets. That's when I noticed a transit employee walking toward the gates. Apparently situations like this trigger alerts. The worker approached with a polite, but suspicious expression. "Ma'am, are you having trouble with the gate?" Her face turned pale. She tried pushing forward. The gate didn't move. She tried stepping back, but the system still wouldn't open. The employee glanced at the display screen and then looked directly at her. "Did you tap your card when entering the system?" She hesitated. That hesitation answered the question. By this point, I had finished checking my pockets. Everything seemed to be where it should be. So I rolled my suitcase forward and continued walking toward the escalators. As I moved away, I heard raised voices behind me, followed by some extremely creative language. Unfortunately, my train schedule didn't allow me to stay and watch the full outcome. But as I stepped outside the station and felt the cool morning air, I couldn't help smiling. Not because I had done something heroic, but because sometimes the smallest acts of justice feel incredibly satisfying, especially when they require almost no effort. The best part is I didn't insult her, argue with her, or cause a scene. All I did was stop walking at exactly the right moment. The subway gate handled the rest. And somewhere behind me, a very frustrated fare dodger was explaining herself to a transit officer. Sometimes revenge doesn't need elaborate planning or dramatic confrontation. Sometimes it only takes patience and timing. Because eventually people who believe the rules don't apply to them run into a gate that simply refuses to open. If you enjoyed the story of instant karma, hit the like button and subscribe for more revenge stories where patience wins. And I'm curious, what would you have done in that situation? Would you have let her through or stopped walking like I did? Let me know in the comments. And until the next story, remember this. Sometimes the most satisfying revenge is letting karma do its job.